Hey guys, it's Will from Tested. I'm here today to show you how to change the hard drive in a late model iMac. It's relatively easy to do, but you need some special tools. So I have here this. This is a handle. It's like a suction cup handle that you use in bathtubs or something like that, so that people have something to grab onto in the bathtub. I got it for like $8 at an As Seen on TV store or something like that. So first thing that you do is jam this guy onto the screen gently, suction it down, and then you just pull. And this is kind of weird, but the whole thing comes out. You want to make sure you don't get any fingerprints on the inside side, because that's going to be really a pain in the ass to get clean. But now that this is off, I'm just going to kind of put this to the side and leave it out of the way. Okay, so now that the front panel's off, be careful not to touch the screen any more than you absolutely have to, because you don't want to have to clean that off later. I'm going to lay the whole Mac down here. And there's a Phillips head screw under here. This covers the memory bay. And what this does is holds the bottom of the computer in place. This is a really soft screw, so you want to make sure you have more or less the right size bit to do this. So setting that off to the side where it'll be safe. And then I'm going to lift the iMac rather, right back up. And I think this is about a Torx 6, but I'm not entirely certain. Just grab your Torx set and see what fits here and what doesn't. And I don't think it's important what order you go when you're doing this. Just kind of work around the edges. It looks like there are two different size screws here. Short one, my right hand, long one in my left hand. The long one is down here. I'll keep track of where the other ones are as we go. Another long one. Short. This is the home stretch. So the next thing I'm going to do after I get these last two screws out is lean the whole mechanism kind of forward out of this metal frame. I don't know exactly how that works because I've never done this before, so it'll be a learning experience for all of us. I'm going to actually separate the back from the front. Oh, ever so gently. Just start at the top, work your way around, and kind of push on the foamy part of the bezel here without touching the screen any more than you have to. Now there's a couple of cables up at the top. So I don't know if you can see those guys, but they hold the iSight camera in and they'll just disconnect. It looks like this one's actually taped up. So I'm going to have to unhook the tape. You just don't want to break this cable because then your iSight won't work anymore, which would be a bummer. Also, ow again. Shit. Okay, so then that just came off. I'll unhook the tape in a minute. And I'm probably just going to leave this off when I put it back together because, I mean, it's not... This type of connector should hold itself in place pretty well. So there's more Torx. These look like T8s again around the outside edges of this frame. This is yet another different kind of screw. This is a wider thread and it's a little bit stumpier, but a more kind of solid feeling screw. And if you look down here, you can see, speakers, cooling fan. This is probably a CPU cooler. Memory is down here, of course. Wi-Fi card. Well, the hard drive, I think, is in the top edge of this. So we're gonna gently pull the screen out once I get these screws out and see if we can just kind of weasel it out. The old drive just died, so we're bringing the machine back to life, not necessarily doing an upgrade here. Popping it out, leaning it forward. Okay. Oh wow, boy, that is really in there. Just gonna just hold? No. This is all soldered in, so I don't even think I can take this out. I'm going to take my screwdriver down here and get in here on the right hand, and it looks like this is more T8 Torx screws. It is, holding the hard drive in. I'm just going to unscrew those. It looks like there's a couple of big grommets in here with this guy. This is another kind of screw. You can see the flat spark goes through the grommets, and those help reduce vibrations and noise. Okay, let's think about this for a minute. Oh, holy shit, it just pops out. Okay. The drive grommets actually are part of a mounting system, so you don't have to unscrew it before you get it out of the case. You can just tilt it and it'll lift right out. So first, let's take this piece of foam. That's probably gonna have a temperature sensor or something underneath it, I would bet. Looks like that, a thermistor maybe. So I'm just gonna lift that out, being real careful to not short it out or anything. Might tear a little bit, that's probably okay. We'll find out later. Definitely better to take the drive out, then unscrew. Looks like this is just in, oh God. Oh, it's just stuck in. Okay, so I'll show you how the clamp works when I get the hard drive out. How's that? Now these wires are taped into place, so you're gonna wanna have something sharp to cut the tape, so you don't have to try to unpeel it. preferably without cutting the wire. I'm going to unhook the SATA connectors from the back. All right, it's the easiest way to do this is just get a fingernail up under here and push from the bottom edge of the drive, it seems like. That is not that easy. It would be much easier if I could just lock this thing in position. Done, thank you. Okay, I'm going to have to do a little bit of doctoring on this and on the new hard drive before we can put the new one in. So these little studs right here go into the bottom grommets in this mounting system. So what this will do is let us lock the hard drive in place and then plug in all the stuff around it. And this was a 320 gigabyte Western Digital drive. So the drives were oriented this way. So that means I want the studs on this side of the new drive, the bottom side of the new drive, not the top side, because we're going to put normal screws into the top. You don't want to strip these, so make sure you do the quarter turn back before you, start cinching down on them. And now I'm going to put this mounting bracket on, which will make my life much easier putting this guy back in the machine than it was getting it out. Basically just thread the screw through the grommet. Again, all the grommet does is dampen the sound vibrations from the hard drive from going through the rest of this machine and making the rest of the aluminum in it sound like a echo chamber. Now there are a couple of things we want to pry off of the old drive and put more or less in the same place. So this is just a piece of tape, foam padding tape. Again, it's a noise isolation thing. So look at how that was oriented on the old drive. It was right here. I'm going to put it just about right there. The next thing is, of course, the little doohickey that held the thermistor on. So we're going to pry that up. I have a spudger. Boom, just popped right off. You could use a pocket knife or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, the drive that I'm replacing this with has a different board layout, so I'm going to have to kind of improvise here. And I'm going to try it over here and hope that it works. Okay, so I'm tilting out gently. Now this time I'm just going to lower this into the machine and it should snap into place, which will be much easier than what I did on the way in. Boom. Snap. Okay, cool. I'm going to plug the data and the power connectors in. Very important. You can just reach back, finger behind those areas and it should just snap into place. You don't want to put too much pressure on the SATA connectors because they're a little delicate. And then the last thing, of course, is to plug the thermistor back in. I'm not sure if this is polarized or not. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, so it just snaps into place right back here in that little holder. And then this foam thing, I'm just going to stick down anywhere. I'm going to assume it doesn't matter, and we'll hope it all works out for the best. I'm going to close this back up, start screwing the monitor back into the bezel. The one thing you want to make sure you do before you screw this back in, make sure the cable for the iSight camera is hanging out so you can get to it when you need to plug the iSight camera back in. It's right here. So when I'm screwing these in, I'm using the spare tire technique. Do opposite sides and then kind of gradually rotate around the edge of the panel. And then once you get all these in, you probably want to go back to the first couple you did and tighten them back down just to make sure they're cinched in really good. Grab your trusty bezel. This guy goes back on, but remember, first you want to plug your iSight camera back in. So I'm going to kind of get it lined up, get it close, or actually just dangle it and plug it in. This is only going to go in one way, so you'll know it either goes or it doesn't. Don't force it. There we go. And as you get this lined up right, it should just kind of slot into place. You want to start at the bottom and work your way up though. Jam the cable in there. Voila. And if you want to test it out and make sure that you didn't screw anything up when you were inside, this is probably not a bad time to boot the machine before you get too many of these screws in, because the bezel is a little bit of a pain in the ass to take on and off. Okay, so last couple of things to do. Let's screw the memory panel cover back on. Okay, it's kind of a weird thing. It doesn't fit exactly right. Just make sure you don't over tighten and strip the screw because it is a very, very soft screw. I assume so that Apple can know whether you've done something bad to your memory slots. The next thing to do is to take a lint-free cloth. I'm using just a microfiber that came with a monitor or something, and kind of look at the places that you've gotten fingerprints on the front of the LCD and ever so gently rub it down. You want to get all the dust and stuff off too, because this is going to be trapped between the screen and your glass, and if you're like me, it will drive you absolutely crazy. Do the same thing on the inside edge. This is a little harder to tell if you're doing it right or not because I'm looking through the glass. But this is a lot easier to get off too, especially once you have the suction cup. So Making sure you have the eyesight hole in the top of the glass lined up with the top, just kind of gently put it back in here, and then release the pressure on your suction cups. And we should have a fully functional iMac here. I'm going to install OS X now, which requires me holding down the option button while I power up the machine with the disk and the drive. Pretty exciting stuff right now, let me tell you. Wait, hold on. But wait, that is exactly what I would like to do. I'm clicking the OS X install DVD button. Something's happening. So that is how to install a new hard drive in your iMac. For Tested, I'm Will Smith. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.